Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we are on a little Facebook, YouTube, Instagram Live. Friday, April 3rd. Isn't that what today is? April 3rd? April 4th? Friday, April 3rd, 2020. How's everybody doing? Thanks for tuning in. Hope you've had a good week. Hope we're surviving the corona, home quarantine, social distancing time of rejuvenation in life. I worked a bunch this week. I want to tell you about a couple things before taking some questions and seeing how everybody is doing. I have put out an audio podcast, which you can find on Spotify and Apple Podcasts by typing in my name, Larry Burchett. It's called the Corona Daily Q&A with ER Dr Larry Burchett, and it takes these conversations, which a lot of them are me heading into a shift or coming out of a shift, or interviews I have with experts. Just did one today with Adele Tevlin, who is a cognitive behavioral therapist. She works mostly with CEOs in Toronto, kind of a CEO coach. She's so good. So good. She's got advanced training, a master's at Harvard in neuroscience. And she talks about how in this interview that we did today, it's going to be out Monday. You can look for it on the social media. It'll be on this platform. But she talks about really in this time, people are going one of two directions. They're seeing opportunity, they're going up, they're growing, they're doing more of all of what they do. Or those of us, when we have the choice, unfortunately, we're not making good decisions. We're kind of spiraling down. And she talks about how to choose helpful resources to get you going in the right direction during this time now. And this is what she's seeing with her clients, which are CEOs. It's a great interview. I want you to watch that. It'll be on YouTube and Instagram TV, IGTV, YouTube channel. And but check out this podcast because it's got the audio stuff. For the podcast people, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the places you find podcasts. Corona Daily Q&A with the ER Dr. Larry Burchett. I worked 4 days in the ER this week, and in the part of California that I'm working at, we're not seeing a ton of corona yet. I know at Highland and in Alameda and some of the bigger hospitals, they are seeing more and more. I want to go over some numbers and stuff. Happy Aaron. Aaron Marie would like to go live. Happy Aaron, maybe in a minute. I got some things I want to chat about for a second. Say hi to everybody hey, Melts. Wendy, how are you doing? Casanova 75, I am honored. Chef Hog, Chefona Hog, how are you? Princess Turnus, I remember some of you guys. Has it been a while, Wendy? I miss you too. Oksana, hi. Renatak. Oh, you didn't accidentally hit that, but you can come on in a little bit. Let me do some things for a second. It won't let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the first thing I want to talk about is let's look at the worldwide cases of this thing. Over 1 million cases of corona. U.S. has 276,000, apparently leads the world. I don't know that I believe this 91,000 or this 81,000 in China. I don't know that I trust those numbers. But let's look for our own sake. In our country, 276,000 cases in the U.S., 7,000 deaths. This is the main thing I want to point out about where we're at right now. This is as of today. I get this from worldometers.info. I think it's a decent enough website. It reflects kind of about the same stuff we're seeing CDC and elsewhere. Remember, these numbers they're a proxy. They're not exactly how many cases there are. They're how many cases we've had test positive. Not everybody's getting tested. There's probably more. But I think some of the things it reflects are true, which corresponds to what we're seeing in the front lines. Not seeing as much in California. So of all these, 276,000 cases, New York has 103,000 of those cases. Not quite half. Incredible amount. New Jersey is number two state with nearly 30,000. California is 4 with 12,000. For the large state that California is, that is so much lower than I was anticipating, and it still is. And I don't think most of us are seeing very much just yet, although most of the folks that I talk to in this thing or anticipating there will be a surge in California. What it looks like, I don't know. California has had 12,000 cases, 275 deaths. That's not very much, thankfully. I know I've got folks in all over Ohio, 3,000 cases, 400 deaths. Missouri, 2,000 cases, 279 deaths. It's crazy to me. Sorry, I said that wrong. Missouri only has 19 deaths. Where is Kansas on this list? Kansas, 620 cases, 17 deaths. So it's so much happening in New York. I kind of wish I were there. I interviewed with the New York Presbyterian early in the week to go out there and help. I think it'll be here eventually, and we'll need to play our part. But I just wanted to review those little numbers now about where it's at. And so on this podcasty thing that I've been putting out there, I've talked a lot about protective equipment. That big controversy. A lot of doctors and nurses are very angry that there isn't more. That it feels like those of us human beings working on the front line, our safety is not being valued, that it's ultimately profits in the system that are being chosen over us. Then that's bullshit. And that's bullshit. All the hospitals I work at, I haven't seen this to be a problem, but there's a reality of a shortage. And especially when it surges in California, I think a lot of us are worried about what that's going to look like. Talked about that, talked about testing. At one particular place I work at, there is a 24-hour test that turns around fast. I have not seen these 5 and 10-minute tests that we've heard about. I have concerns. Are those even good tests? Are they going to be accurate? The 24-hour turnaround test has to go through the Department of Health to get approval at one place that I work. Otherwise, we send it out to a private lab or whatever that takes a week to turn around. It's not very practical, not very helpful. Most of the people that I've seen have not been sick. I don't know that we had any cases this week that were positive. A lot of people worried and wanted to get tested, and they were mainly worried because they were potentially going to expose either their place of work, whether it's the jail or nursing home or the hospital, or somebody, a family member or partner that they're living with who has cancer, is immunocompromised, or these are good people that are trying to do the right thing. And I'm hopeful that testing will get up to speed and we'll be able to meet those needs better. And then I've said this a lot. You guys have heard me say this a lot. I can't wait till there's a test that demonstrates immunity, where you've been exposed, you've gotten the thing, you've gotten over it. Those people will be able to go back out and carry a piece of paper that says, here, I'm immune. Freely go about your business. I think that's probably the best way for us to return open business again. So, yeah, there we go. So how is everybody doing? Hi, Nicole. It was good working. Well, Nicole, we're trying to keep things. It was nice to see you this week. I don't want to divulge where I was working. Hi, Marie. I haven't seen you in forever. How are you doing? Healthcare clients are hit hard right now. How so, Wendy? Doing good here in Houston. DT October. Man, I get my glasses to read this stuff. Gina, 23 Brown. So how is everybody doing? How is this stuff across the country? Marie, how are you? I did a couple good interviews with Susie Zinn, who's a therapist who specializes in eating disorders and trauma. And for a lot of those folks, I think the lessons apply to all of us, things that help in a time of uncertainty and not knowing. I mean, this is the reality. Is this thing evolves every couple days, right? We hear different things from the president and these guys in charge and these these models. They're always adjusting the models and they're guesses. I think we listen to them and pay attention to them. I think it's foolish to blow them off, but um, it's just so hard to predict this thing. There's too many variables. Even the computer is not going to be able to know how many people are going to stay at home and listen to this. I would have if I had to predict, I would have predicted San Francisco would have been a bigger outbreak than New York just because of travel from China. But that didn't happen that way. This stuff is really difficult to predict. I think what you take with that in your mind is you take it a day at a time and you say, okay, this is going to be the normal for the next couple of weeks. We don't know how long it's going to go. August, December, whatever. I can't imagine it going that far. But for the first couple of weeks in April, I think most of the country is going to be on this home quarantine, lockdown, all that kind of stuff, and figuring out how to live your life. In that time, Susie recommended, number one, sticking to a routine, which gives your mind that certainty of knowing when things are coming, when you're going to get food, when you're going to exercise and do your things. It just gives you a sense of security that makes you feel better during this kind of time. And then number two, has anybody heard me say this stuff before? What is number two? Anybody? Doing your best to maintain social connections. So that's this stuff. It's Skype and, happy hours on Zoom. And it's not as great, but it's something. Wendy, being asked about working different departments than they were trained. Yeah, so when there's a big surge, I heard a dermatologist was getting prepped on how to do hospital medicine. That's kind of crazy, but we got to do what we got to do to get through this and take care of people. Marie, staying sane with Peloton, meditation and writing, and Marco Polo video messages. What are Marco Polo video messages? It's good to adapt and figure out some way to movement, exercise something at home. Peloton's great. I want to plug this thing again that you can find on the new podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Corona Q&A Daily with ER Dr Larry Burchett. Adele Tevlin this is going to come out Monday, but it's a discussion about all the stuff that she does with her CEO coaching clients. And in that, she gives a really good grounding meditation that look for that. But Marie, that's great. The most amazing app ever, like text, but video instead. Do you guys know of this? I don't know what this is. I always feel like an old guy. Marco Polo video messages. Maybe I'll check it out. So it's a Marco Polo app. Okay. All right. Okay. October Mysterian. The cases are going up where I live here in Canada. Where are you in Canada? October. There are the ones who have recovered. The recent cases are ones that work at grocery stores like all over. We are short on PPE. Yeah, there's a shortage of that. Makes sense, people that have these essential jobs that have to be out there working at the grocery stores. I just saw this past week, grocery stores now have this big piece of plastic between the cashier and me going through there to get stuff. Makes sense. It makes sense, but it's so sterile. It's weird. Get it together. Get what together, Marie? Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I don't know where that is, but I'm going to look it up. Thanks for chiming in from there. But that makes sense to me that the grocery store workers are susceptible and out there with this. Let's see. What else? I'm going to try this other one, this other little Facebook Live thing. Another one from Canada. You guys agree with this? But, all right, Marie, I'll check out Marco Polo. I'll say hi to you on Marco Polo. Hi, Ella. How are you doing? How's the news? You doing news from home? Matt, are you still in Seattle? I think things have surprisingly kind of calmed down and done better up there. right? So Adele said she thought Canadians were a little more obedient and orderly than Americans. So they listen and they kind of do what they're told, meaning social distancing and stuff. In America, United States, people are there's definitely a rebellious, you know, kind of thing. Is that true? Do you Canadians agree with that? Do you guys agree with that? And would that, I mean, if that were true, that would be better for you and not so much for us, right? That would be bad if we were truly not listening, like the state of Florida just enacted their stay-at-home policy. Too late, guys. Worried about Florida. Too late. Tanya, maybe later. Yeah, are Canadians listening and executing social distancing, staying at home better than Americans? And is that a thing? Is that a cultural thing? Ella, working at the office during the peak, should we be worried? Are you going into the news station? I think you work for KRON, right? KRN in San Francisco. Are you still going in and doing stuff? I feel like a lot of the stuff I see on broadcast TV is like people Skyping in from home, you know? Why people have a heartbeat. Is that a question? Maybe you could rephrase that. I'm not sure how to answer that. Kelly, as of a BCG shot, the TB shot is in trials in Australia. Immune stimulation, very sting. Try whatever, study whatever, and see, what works. But we got to have good. You can't just throw stuff at the. You can't just guess. You need good evidence to, put this stuff in. Otherwise, it's just an experiment. It's experimental. Of course, there will always be those who don't listen. I witnessed at grocery stores today. Some don't practice social distancing. People are getting tired of being inside. No kidding. How long can we keep this up? I mean, we got to do what we got to do, but I worry about that too, just how sustainable that is. What's the plan? And I think that's difficult for people because we don't know how long it's going to be. And it seems like every time we hear a new thing, it's just a couple weeks, and then it's a couple weeks longer, and then it's into May. And I think as a person, to stay sane in this, you have to understand things are going to continue to evolve. And I think you're going to get 2-week plans at a time. How long is it going to last? I don't know, but we know what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to look at the numbers and see, are things peaking or not? What are with the best science that we've got, the people that have just studied this their whole career and written books and all that stuff, what do they see coming in the next whatever? And what do we need to do to minimize the deaths? We're not talking about 100 people dying. I mean, these numbers are hundreds of thousands of deaths and bad predictions in the 1 to 2 millions. I don't know. That's what people say. That seems like a good enough reason to listen and do it. Hello, Kirk, Dr. McCullough, and Mrs. McCullough. Are you guys watching right next to each other? I love it when I have the husband and wife combo who are like both on their phones sitting on the couch watching the thing together. Kirk, what do you think about this situation? If you were on Instagram, you could pop up there and I would pull you in and you could have a little bit of the conversation. Hi, Rebecca May, Ashling. Hello, Cousin Drew, Cousin Crystal. Hey, buddy. Matt, Japan thinks one reason that Japan, South Korea, and Singapore have lower rates is BCG was mandatory to attend school. Okay. So BCG, I forget what it stands for, but it's basically a vaccination against tuberculosis. We don't really do that in the United States. A lot of Mexico does that. So I see a lot of patients. There's this kind of particular, very kind of notable scar in the shoulder. Our vaccines usually don't scar, but the BCG one, there's a typical scar that comes with that. But anyway, it was done to prevent TB. We never needed it in this country because it was largely eradicated without a vaccination. That's an interesting thought. Interesting. So it would be like, well, should we start giving that if there is some evidence? Because that's a vaccine that is available, as opposed to there's this discussion about vaccines being a great way to give immunity to the world and the American population, and ultimately that being one of the things to crush this virus from replicating. But it takes 12 plus months to get a vaccine developed, tested, make sure it's safe, prove that it works, and then get it out there and deployed. So it's not a short term answer. Tanya, how are others handling this? I get getting tension at home, at each other with son for no reason. It's just building up, being cooped up. Yeah, you got to figure out, hey, Erica, you got to figure out how to stay balanced, how to survive, how to cope with the stress, how to, in the new normal, how to thrive. So what do you guys do? About routines, social connection, stuff like this. Good one that I talked about today. It's vaccines are just a long time away, Kirk. I agree. Good thing I talked today with Adele, again, the Adele interview, she coaches CEOs and has a Harvard master's in neuroscience and cognitive behavioral therapy. Adele was talking about, I lost my train of thought, but it was relevant to this conversation. She talked about how she likes to stay informed about this, but she does not look at regular media, meaning news media. She's deleted all these emails that are garbage in the social media feed, has, blocked and silenced, being honest and aware that the stuff that you see that comes in affects you. And part of your survival right now to do well is get rid of it. Get rid of the stuff that puts you into that stressed fight or flight, like, are we going to die situation? Get it out. I thought that was smart. And I was surprised because I was like, how can you stay informed without going through and reading all of this stuff? Because it's easy for me to just get crazy. And I've had patients come in with panic attacks from reading this news. So it's real. But I thought that was a really good point. Cut it out. Cut the media out. Sad, it took me 2 days to finally order food through Instacart for your mom, having supply chain issues everywhere. Monica, agree. Yep, Tanya, go through and just delete the people on social media that are taking you down a little bit. Princess, I'm interested in knowing what we really should and shouldn't do. In NYC, the message is a little confusing. Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me where you're confused, Princess. I think the general recommendation in New York and places that are hit hard, wash your hands. Don't go out. I mean, there's basic need stuff. If you can get stuff delivered, get it delivered. If you got to go out to the grocery store or whatever and do the basic things, when you do that, keep distance between you and people. Now let's talk about that for a second. In Asia, Singapore, and South Korea and so forth, they really defined close contact as being within closer than 6 feet, really probably 3 feet, for like 15 or 30 minutes. Passing somebody by it's not a zero, it's just a very low risk. Sitting down right next to somebody having coffee for a half hour, that's going to be close contact, right? Enough where you could breathe on each other. If somebody accidentally sneezed or coughed, that would be, and it could be an exposure. Just passing somebody, especially if there's a few feet on you, like, is that a big deal? I don't know about that. But I think as much as possible, you stay at home. You avoid where it is. People are talking about masks. Now you should wear masks outside. Whatever. I'm reading that in the USA, it's a rough issue to do too. I'm from Italy. I haven't gone out of my home since the 8th of March. Wow. Oh, that's like 3 weeks, almost a month. I have no income because my workplace is closed until the end of May. That's intense. I feel for you. How are you doing with that? I mean, Italy, that got real. Are you in a place in Italy where it got hit hard? I think that was northern Italy, right? Um, I think, I don't know if you guys have seen these, you can play with these models online where it shows you how much staying at home and social distancing and how it impacts the virus's spread. The more everybody's out there, like a big, huge concert is like the worst thing because then it just goes sneaking out, doing one thing and coming back in. It's zero, it's something. There's a small risk for that, but you have to survive. If you can get stuff delivered, do it. But if you're going to go out, then do your best to take care of yourself. So I don't know if you could tell me more about that. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Nicole. Going through puberty. In Italy, masks are mandatory. All right. I'm in the north, but no, not a single case yet in my city. Oh, wow. You've been on lockdown and not a single case in your city. That's incredible. That's interesting. I hope it doesn't get there. Um, Swine flu vaccine, 25% Guillain-Barré. I don't know what you mean by that, Kirk. Hey, Carrie. Hello, Aunt Kath. How are you? Doing a little live here, kids. I'm just playing with this thing. Yeah, so not a single case in your town. It is not in California anything like it is in New York. Not yet. Hopefully it won't be as bad, but I don't know that we can really hope it will continue to increase and there will be a peak. Hopefully if there's a surge, it'll be manageable. But certainly I think everybody from the administrative side to all of us providers are preparing and anticipating for more here, even though it doesn't compare to what's going on in New York right now. Thank you. Baking some blueberry cobbler at the moment. That sounds good. Princess, thank you for transparency and help and support via IG. Much appreciated. You're welcome. Wait a minute. Is that the bottom? There we go. Let's see. So, what helps you guys? Here's a question for you, and I want you to throw some things out. What helps you the most in this time to get through it and to do well? And on the other hand, what makes things worse? And I'm mainly focusing on behaviors, things that are within your control. What makes this time better and what makes it worse? I'll go first. Um, what makes it better for me is some of its basics. If I'm working, then I just work. And that's just that. Then I take a lot of thought. This is mainly, I would say, so when I work, it's taking care of myself, being rested, having food ready, just so that that's not an additional stressor. I'm freaking out if I don't have food. And then just being gentle and having limits. I can't do everything. I'm not gonna be doing a bunch of Facebook lives. I'm just limited. I won't be able to respond to everything. Like knowing that when I work that I have limits and respecting that and taking care of myself. Days off, stuff like this helps me. It helps me to talk about it, share information, and feel good that I'm helping people stay sane during this thing because losing our minds is not going to help anybody, me or you, even though there is the stress. Having a routine, getting up, doing breakfast, getting some movement, getting outside as much as I can safely. And then getting goals, like getting things that you're excited about that you want to do and you want to work on and accomplish. And whether it's reading books that you haven't read or whatever, just finding things that get you genuinely excited and motivated. It's really easy to get lost on that couch and Netflix it away. And a little bit of that I think is okay, but too much of that Doesn't feel good. Then for me, I absolutely have to put limits on, okay, here's what I'm going to devote today to, whether it's 30 minutes of reading stuff in the news or reviewing medical stuff or, whatever, and then stopping for my own sanity. Because this brain will just keep on going and going. And then there's an endless supply of opinions and studies and medical stuff on and on and on and on and on and on. That's what I do. What do you do? What do you guys do? What helps and what does not help? I'm sure Aunt Kathy, the blueberry cobbler, helps. Thank you for keeping us informed. You are welcome. Knowing you from a Mortal Kombat reaction video you made, it was very funny and interesting. My dogs are great mind help. I have no family or relatives. I'm alone in the house. You know what? Pets are great. God, I wish I had a dog. I think you're so true. Right. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that in New York, all of the shelters, there's no more animals that needed to be adopted or fostered because they all got adopted because we needed them. It's a great story. I think it's true. I don't want to propagate stuff that's not true, but it makes sense to me. I think that kind of a companion, I think that's great. Here we were warned also be careful of fake door knockers, thieves saying they're testing for corona. I've heard some of that. Hello, dear Tiffy. Hello, dear Tiffy. Gzar. Anybody else? What do you guys do? What's helping to stay sane through this, and what does not help? I pray, meditate. October, Mysterian. I pray, meditate, listen to relaxing music. Good. Hi, Jamie Taggart. Lots of laughter. Going to get groceries is so stressful. I get enough for 2 weeks. Okay, so that's good. So planning ahead so that you can kind of minimize your own exposure of going out. I go shopping as soon as the grocery store opens. We have lots of pets. Good. I like that. Rebecca, my boys and I applied to foster a dog. Great time to foster a dog. For everybody's sake. The boys and mom. Jamie Taggart, how are you doing hanging in here? And then what do we... I worry a lot about all the economics and folks being out of work, and I worry about a lot of that stuff. What are we going to do about it? That I don't know. I know some medical facts around this, but how this hits people's lives and I worry about that for sure. Somehow we're going to get through it. But don't worry about what you can't impact or control. That's true, Forest Sky. I think that's good. I think I don't want to let that get to a point where it's really stressing me out. But I do want to have kind of a mindful empathy about all of us as we're going through this and how it affects people, and certainly how people show up in my ER in this stressful situation. Environment matters, their job matters. All of that just adds to what ends up bringing people in. Luciano, I cultivate my orchard. That's great. Gardening. Do my martial art routines and my cardiology. Oh, is that like cardio? Yeah. We literally can't go out except one person per family once a week, only in the town where you live. Wow. So you've got some rules where you can go out, but it's very restricted. That makes sense. We're not on that severe crackdown yet in the United States, but it's good to hear the reality of what it is in Italy. Forest Sky, agree. I just know it's too easy to worry endlessly, so you have to be mindful about it. You're exactly right. No, you're right. Maybe I'll kind of give my time to think about others and be in that space, but then not let it get you too much. What else do we have here? Some of the questions and things that I've seen a lot. Talked about this on some of the other episodes this week. There is a podcast where I do a little before and after work thing, and it's got all of these interviews You can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And of course, I'm going to plug this week on the show. Life Can Change in a Moment. The video podcast was Dr. Alexandra Solomon, who came and gave a great, told one of her moments, a story where her father had died and had donated his body to science. And she talks about the moment that she met the medical student that worked on her father, which is like kind of intense and creepy, but it was a very helpful thing for her to grieve. And then the second half of the show, we talk about her book. We were able to segue from that like emotional grieving moment into talking about her book, which is about sex, taking sexy back. It's a great book. It's a great, check that out that's also on Apple Podcasts and the YouTube channel. She's great. I'm such a big fan of hers, and it was really cool for her to be able to be able to connect with her and interview her. And after finding her book myself, and best relationship book I've ever read. Luciano, Totally Restricted, tracked by phone to. We can't even go out for the trash. Wow, tracked by phone. I don't think that would ever happen here. That kind of a state. Some of this stuff is crazy, you guys, right? Being tracked by the phone. I mean, I know China is like nuts and does that stuff, but doesn't that make you a little uncomfortable? That makes me uncomfortable. I don't trust the government that much that I would let them do that ever, even in this time. I would use an app that could guide me, but that the government would track me, maybe they already do, and I'm just in denial. Dear Tiffy, I keep saying de-artify. Dear Tiffy, I've been journaling every evening before bed, getting out the thoughts, identifying hardships, paying gratitude. This has really helped me sleep more soundly. It could be an opportunity to develop some good habits that actually help you from here on out. Here's a question for you guys. The world after Corona will be forever changed, without a doubt. How do you think it's going to be changed? And how can we move through this to make it a better world? I think that's a great question. A lot of people are saying that this is really demonstrating the inadequacy of the American healthcare system, once again, which relies so much on profit to achieve the goals, and we haven't been able to execute widespread testing. The PPE thing highlights how the profit of a hospital is pitted against the safety of the doctors, nurses, and therapists. How's it going to affect politics? How's it going to affect our relationships? I was texting a friend today, and she said, I'm worried that after this, we're not going to hug each other anymore. I thought, I feel like after this, we're going to hug more because we miss it. So I feel like there's always an opportunity. Look, this stuff's bad. People are going to die. It's going to be rough. But there's always an opportunity within all of that to think about what's really important to you and to live those values, live with that integrity. Hi, Laura Lynch. Are you taking questions? Absolutely. Sorry. Oh, shoot. I wasn't looking at all this stuff. Yeah, I'm taking questions if you've questioned. Hey, Kath. Getting out to track. Oh, right. You live right by the Shawnee Mission East track. Zoom, drumming with a friend in Santa Monica and your crew. That's good. I like that. So you got some activity, you got some social stuff. You're expressing yourself with music. I like that a lot. Stop watching Trump's press conferences. That's probably good for your sanity too. Lisa Kelly, daily hikes, lots of fruit smoothies, vitamin C, good. I like that's fruit and vegetables, also some movement. I leave my dog at home. She's a pug, can't keep up. Yeah, pugs can only go so far and so fast. Hi, Kim Butler. Brooke Schumann, what makes it better? Focusing on why we are so fortunate. Good. I like that. We will get through it. I'm so thankful that we have great leadership by Governor Newsom I'm hopeful that the stuff that they did in California early is why things are not as bad as other places. A lot of focus on outdoor time. My dogs keep me very present. I've also talked to people on the phone much more than ever before. Stay connected. No kidding, right? Can be an opportunity to further those relationships. Lisa Kelly, 20 minutes or more sunlight, vitamin D, good. Viruses dislike UV light. Sun can, UV light can definitely kill viruses. I think washing your hands is probably enough for that. But a little sunlight's a good idea. Um, let's see. Yesterday, I cut and colored my own hair. Home job. Hairdressers are shut down. Be careful, ladies. Hello there. Glad to see you at home with some time off, buddy. Remembering good time at the Super Bowl. Absolutely. Super Bowl was amazing. Conservation, what we need, what we can live without. What do you mean? What does that mean? Government voted for the suppression of privacy, Lawrence. It's crazy. Dormire. Sleep about a month here. Taxes still come. Workplaces are closed with no government help. Yeah, I bet that is not. I don't know how all of that's going to work out. Forest Sky, I think we have more gratitude for normal social interaction when this is over. I agree. If this makes more people see the importance of nonprofit healthcare, it would be a benefit. Healthcare failed here. You're in Italy a long time ago. This is just the powdered last nail in the coffin here too. Privacy law. You got to learn some things from this Corona thing. Gotta learn some things and get better. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Corona symptoms. What are the symptoms of coronavirus that you guys have heard? When would you think you have it? What should you do? When should you go to the ER and come in? In the beginning, it was cough and a fever and thought to be like a cold, maybe a little bit symptoms like the flu, body aches or sore throat or whatever. Now I've seen so many cases where it's quite variable. Headache is one symptom. I had a friend, a ER ICU doctor who tested positive, and she just felt a little weak and she had a headache. Never had a fever or a cough. They've done a lot of these CAT scans on the abdomen looking for appendicitis, for example, and they'll see coronavirus in the lungs. And so people can have it in there and not even have those symptoms, but have symptoms of abdominal pain, vomiting, diarrhea. Can be quite varied. Does that change anything if you are safe enough to stay at home? I don't think so. I don't think you necessarily have to come in. Most people, 80%, it's mild, they do okay. Stay at home, stay quarantined, take care of yourself, stay well hydrated. Tylenol and ibuprofen for pain or fever. Ibuprofen is probably still okay. There's a little controversy there, but I think at least in the U.S., most kind of experts have been like, we don't think there's enough evidence to not use ibuprofen. And then just use the medications for the symptoms. If you have a sore throat, take some throat lozenges to suck on and use chloroseptic spray. If your nose is congested, you can use Sudafed, whatever versions of Sudafedrin. If you have nose allergies, use Nasonex or Flonase for your nose allergies. You kind of target the symptoms, you treat that, stay hydrated, eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, take care of yourself, sleep, stress, avoid stress, all that stuff. When should you come into the ER or the hospital if you're sick with symptoms? I was on ABC 10 Sacramento today talking, and they asked one question. They said, well, if I've just got, a little shortness of breath and whatever from Corona, then and I was like, no. You start getting shortness of breath, that is the number one symptom that we start to worry about. It could be advancing. Now, I want to talk about something for a minute because I have had more than one patient in the ER who has come in with mild cold symptoms, cough, a little fever, sore throat, whatever, and they've been short of breath and they've been worried that coronavirus is getting worse. So how do we evaluate them? I look at them, I see how fast they're breathing, how hard they're breathing. They're breathing just like this, more likely they're fine. If they're like, That's a sign of lung problem. 2, we put a oxygen saturation monitor on their finger. Normal sat is a 99 or 100%. With severe coronavirus and low oxygen levels, that is under 90. So you get short of breath. I want to know what your oxygen saturation is. You do a chest x-ray and you look for pneumonia-like patterns in both lungs, infiltrates, ground glass infiltrates, what that's called. So you're evaluated like that. But shortness of breath, chest pain, these are ones where you really want to think about, going in and getting evaluated for that. Mild cold stuff, you feel okay at home, great. If you're puking your guts out, you can't keep liquids down, you probably need to go in for some fluids and some medicine to calm that down. So those kind of basic things about when do I go in, definitely kind of shortness of breath, chest pain, you need to be calling your doctor about that kind of stuff. Mild cold stuff, you can write it out. Vomiting, whatever, that kind of thing. But this is what I was going to say. So shortness of breath, I've had several patients that have felt short of breath. Everything has turned out okay, and we talk more about it, and it ends up being anxiety. There's a lot of folks who, and anxiety can be very difficult to. You can have shortness of breath that is a symptom of anxiety, not lung failure from corona. And as the patient, that can be very difficult to tease apart. You can't tell the difference. That's why you need us to come in and examine you and look at you and listen to your lungs and check your oxygen and do an x-ray and do an evaluation for that. That's what we're here for. What are you guys doing on a Friday night? Hanging out with me? Hello, Dr. McCoy. I want your gem. I'm going to come steal your gem. What are you guys doing for exercise at home? In Italy, we've been told cough, headache, fever over 37.5, sore throat. Those can be symptoms, but remember, it can also just be a headache, a little belly pain. It's really non-specific. A lot of things could potentially be coronavirus. Doesn't make it any easier, but that's the reality. I've been wondering if I have had it the past 2 weeks, but my symptoms are weird. I know not to go into the ER unless I can't breathe. Maybe you did. It's hard to say. All right, I'm going to get going in a couple minutes. Thanks for sticking around for this thing and participating. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please put them in here. You can always reach out to me on the social medias. Don't know it all, but I'll do my best. Before I go, I want to say thank you for your hard work. Malupi, you're right 100% about the symptom. I hope we can go back to normal soon. Online spin classes. Luckily, I have a trainer and a pantry in my apartment. That's awesome. Thank you for giving us all your time. It's greatly appreciated. All of us at UCSF worker are now required to wear a mask. Yeah, we have to wear a mask too. In the lab doing coronavirus testing, it does give me peace of mind. Oh, wow, you're in the lab. How is it in the lab? Lindsay, you're awesome. Yeah, you guys stay safe too. If you like these little question and answer things, check out the podcast, Corona Daily Q&A with ER Dr. Larry Burchett. It's on Spotify. Just type my name in Spotify or Apple Podcast. These things are also on the YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram. You can send me questions and whatever. I'll do my best to answer it. Take care of yourself. Do your part. We're going to get through this thing. We are going to be okay. The world will be forever changed. So think about how to make it a better world and use this time for good. Don't want it to spread unknowingly to my coworkers. The lab is bonkers. I can't imagine. I'd love to hear more about the lab if you want to tell us about it. All right, I'm going to get out of here. It's time, guys. Have a good weekend.